everybody, get ready for our talk with Noble McEntire and Jennifer Lee. The Beatles want to come too, so we're joining the Beatles too.
Awesome 80s weekend. Every song comes from the 1980s. I Can't Drive 55. Let's look at some accidents, and then we'll talk to Mr. McEntire about the 80s and about the real ID. So hang on. It looks like a tie-up West Reno at Council. Also Southwest 89th and Penn. Look out Southwest 74th and May. Southwest 59th and May. It's a tie-up there. Also Southwest 154th and Western. And Northwest Expressway at Sarah Road. Also I-235 at Harrison Avenue. So that's right there downtown. So what was I going to do? Oh, yeah. Hello, sir. Hello. My favorite time of Friday, because it's an awesome 80s weekend, we have Noble McEntire of McEntire Law in to talk about many things, including the 80s.
Yeah.
That was Sammy Hagar, I Can't Drive, 55, just for you.
Because it's a 55, because you know I'm 55 years old, right?
Yes.
So that's an old person joke.
I
look 55,
know.
I don't look a day over 54.
Yeah.
And so I'm crushing it.
54 and a half.
54 and a half, perfect. Yeah. But I remember that song when I was a kid, and now here I am. I know it's not about age, but 55, and I'm 55. It's a little hurtful. Wait.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know I have a heart patient, right?
Yes, I know that.
You stab me in the heart?
I have to be careful. Speaking of driving, in the 80s, it was such a rite of passage to get your driver's license as soon as you could. Some people took off from school and got their driver's license and came back, I have a license. But now it's a little different. Kids aren't in a hurry.
No, in fact, when I was a kid, not only did I get my license the day I could, I got my permit the day I could, the license the day I could. I was driving at 13 on my grandparents' farm.
Wow, that's crazy.
I got a CDL license so that I could drive semis because I would help on the farm and we would drive the semis into town to dump the grain. And then when I was in college, I went on wheat harvest and I would drive the semis. So I had a CDL license. Kids today, not all of them. Obviously, some still want that independence, but some are so used to mom and dad driving around, so used to Uber, they have no real drive to go get that independence.
I'm used to daddy driving me everywhere, guys.
Years old that was injured as a passenger.
I can't drive.
Like, what are you doing? But yeah, kids today just have a completely different mindset. It's a different world than it was for us. There was no push of a button and Uber came and got us.
I remember the first one of my friends to get a license. She had the car and the license, and we all piled in and cruised on a Friday and Saturday night in the town of Chickasha.
Which now that I'm a parent, okay, we did that too. As a parent, that's a nightmare. You're putting a bunch of teenage kids in with an inexperienced teenage driver that has a bunch of distractions in your car. Only bad things can happen. They don't know what they're doing, and all these kids are piled into a car.
I don't like bad things.
That's what we did too. What was your first car?
My first car, and I'm a little embarrassed, but it was a Dodge Aries K.
What does that Aries K look like?
It's a very square car.
Like a Dodge Dart? Those old Dodge Darts?
Not as bad as a Dodge Dart. It was a fleet car, I think.
Okay.
And so my parents got it like at a bargain. And so that was what my first car was. It was blue.
Mine was a 1947 wheelish Jeep from World War II that my dad had purchased at an auction, and he had taken the four-cylinder engine out and put in an all-aluminum V6 that he took out of an Oldsmobile from the scrapyard. And it was a stick shift. So I learned to drive a stick shift on a 1947 Jeep. And it was a lot of fun. I have some videos of me driving around high school in that thing. It leaked like crazy when it rained if the roof was on, so I just had the roof off most of the time.
I bet it got, 2.1 miles per gallon?
Yes, but gas was what, 59 cents a gallon?
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Now it's $700 a gallon.
And cars are $100,000.
Right,
Yes.
right. In the 80s, they didn't have the real ID like they do now.
No.
And we're coming up on compliance, but I think they extended it maybe a little bit. But let's talk about this real ID thing, because I know there's a lot of confusion whether you have to have it or you can have a regular driver's license or whatnot.
Well, you can still have a regular driver's license, but you're going to be restricted in things you can do. They've extended the deadline out a number of times. They're not going to extend it anymore past this year. And I think it was supposed to be May 7th. I may give you a couple more months.
Right.
But you're not going to be able to fly absent having a real ID or a passport. Okay? Not everybody has a passport. And so that's going to be an issue. The other thing is it's not just about travel. If I go down to the federal courthouse, if I'm called as a juror, if I'm an attorney, you have to show your ID. A regular ID is not going to get you in. You're going to have a real ID, compliant ID to get into any federal buildings as well. So it's not just travel. It's also access to different things. Then in states like Oklahoma, in which you're required to show an identification to vote, not all states are that way. In fact, you can just pretty much line it across the country. If you live live in a predominantly blue state, you don't have to show an ID to vote. That's pretty much across the board with a few limited exceptions. Eventually, with this administration, he wants IDs in every state, and we'll see if all the states follow. But in Oklahoma, you're going to need either a passport or a real ID to vote now. And so that makes it harder for old people because old people aren't traveling on airplanes anymore. They're not really going to do a lot of federal buildings. You sit there and think about my 81-year-old mom, that she's got to go through the process to get a real ID to go vote. And she can do it because mom and dad are still mobile, get around in the car. But there's some older folks that just aren't that mobile. They're living in assisted living centers. They're going to sacrifice that right unless they can go get a real ID.
Now, I guess you can, if you bring your birth certificate and your regular driver's license, then you can vote.
But with the real ID now, unlike in the past where you could say, okay, I'm married, your last name's different on your birth certificate. Now, if your last name is different because you've gotten married, it's a whole different problem for you because they're not going to let you until you get the real ID. And so it's not enough to bring your regular ID and your birth certificate if the names don't match up.
So I would just get a passport, even if you don't travel.
It's easy. It's much easier. Well, it's not that hard to go get a real
I
ID.
would get a passport
it takes
too.
So long. I mean, they don't have enough tag agencies doing it. Now you have to arrange for a time to go in. Everybody else is doing it too. It's this big rush. Eventually that'll even out, but right now it's still a challenge.
All right, thank you for clearing that up. A lot of people were confused about the real ID, so hopefully this helped. Noble McEntire, McEntire Law, as always, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And if you want to get a hold of Noble, you can always email us, ask him a question. He knows everything. I swear he does. He's my go-to guy.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Mine
send
too.
us an email, asknoble@tylermedia.com.
Yes, guys, it's always good to hear Noble McEntire's voice and Jennifer Lee's voice on the radio on Friday. It's always nice to hear them talk. And guys, if you want more Beatles videos or more Noble McEntire and Jennifer Lee videos or just more KOMA videos, you know what to do. Go to my channel, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and yeah. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next video. Bye.